Hi guys, and welcome back to Tristarian. This is my second ever Q&A video. It's to celebrate 2,000 followers on Instagram. Thank you guys, that's pretty awesome. I asked everyone to just give me geeky questions and we're just going to get through as many of them as we can in this video. So without further ado, let's get on to the first question. Spider Gidman says, what's your opinion on the Marvel and DC cinematic universes? The Marvel Cinematic Universe is obviously owned by Disney and they're very much going for a comedy angle, going for something that's quite accessible and friendly and just pure entertainment, and they're doing that exceedingly well with a few exceptions. Age of Ultron was Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was just kind of okay. The characters are all kind of lovable, so you'd let them get a pass for some of the things they do wrong. The DCU, because they've gone for serious things, if they do something wrong, it just really doesn't work. Just for something to put on with friends, something that's got rewatchability, then Marvel is kind of winning for cinema for me. Captain Colin Cofftree says, who is your favourite Doctor Who and companion? I'm a Tennant girl. I really love David Tennant as Doctor Who. He's the first Doctor Who I ever fancied, so that kind of swings it for me. And he's just such an amazing, charismatic actor as well, and even if it's a bad episode, he's just so awesome that he pulls it through. Companion-wise, the recent companions has always been kind of issues because they would start off awesome and then they would sort of start taking over the plot lines. I think for me, classic companions are winning, and it's just going to have to be Sarah Jane. She's awesome, and even the Sarah Jane series, the children's TV series, that had some amazing episodes as well, and she's just such a wonderful person. Retro Gamer Girl says, how long have you been on YouTube? Right now I've been on YouTube for just over 2 years. My first videos were The Force Awakens and I was staring into the camera so terrified. It took me hours and hours to record that first video, and like my hair's all frazzled because I had just done it as a test and I never intended to put it online, and there was so much footage of me just sitting there like this, like, do I have to talk now? That first video was such an epic job to get it edited because I'd never spoken on camera before, I had never edited before, and in the end I spent so long on it, I was like, I'm just putting this on the internet and then hopefully one day I will have got half decent at this. I'm like quarter decent at this now. One day I'll be half decent at it and I can look back at that first video and be like, I could do that so easily now. I'm trying this year to release videos every Friday. We'll see how long I manage that for, but that's my aim, is to try and be more consistent, because I mean I've only got a small following, but you guys are awesome and people actually talk in the comments and it's not just trolling, they're actually discussing points. It's a really nice little community that's kind of growing and I don't want to let you guys down. Gertigil, not quite sure how to pronounce that one. What is your favourite board game? Well, really high up on the list has got to be Galaxy Trucker because it is silly, stupid, fun, and that has such a replayability factor, and it's something that everyone can jump in on. And for kind of more serious tabletop gaming, then probably Merchant of Venus. But Galaxy Trucker probably wins because it's one that you can just be like, here, everyone play this, it's going to be chaos and it's going to be so fun. Mr. Grimes Real, hello. Will you ever decide to create your own comic book, or would you consider making your own original character? Art was very much my life when I was younger. All I wanted to be was an artist. I was completely talked out of doing that and convinced to quit when I was in school by my teachers. And I dug out some bits as well from a cupboard in case you guys wanted to see them. Here's a couple of bits of comic book art. There is Chastity from Chaos Comics and Archangel from X-Men. When I was kind of, I don't know, I'm assuming 13, 14, something like that. It's Pris from Bubblegum Crisis, that's one of the androids from Dominion Tank Police. A drawing of an anime girl drawn pixel by pixel in paint. God, that took forever and it looks like rubbish. I also did make my own comic books. I did about 36 pages for this one, which is a super derivative anime character who has like pink hair and a fox tail and like, yeah, she's a secret government weapon and oh dear, it's it's not particularly amazing. Oh, a picture of a sword. A character who is apparently called Vixen, I'd forgotten that. Super generic name. That her as well? Yeah. It's all fairly rubbish. If you guys wanted to see any more about the comic books I did when I was a kid, I'd be happy to show you if you guys wanted to laugh. Meme Machine Dean says, if you had all the resources in the world and money wasn't an issue, what would you do? Well, world domination, and I'd marry Loki, really. Well, I'd make Loki real and then marry Loki. and then we do the world domination. That's probably the way around to do it, really. Loki could help me with the world domination, but yeah, that. Princess Up says, what's your top must-read comic? That's pretty easy. Transmetropolitan. Transmetropolitan is one of my favourite comic books of all time. It contains everything I love. The artwork is amazing, the writing is amazing, it's satirical and dark and evil and cyberpunk and funny and brilliant all at the same time. So if you haven't read Transmetropolitan, you really should give it a go, especially if you like things that are quite dark and mean and funny. London Express Yourself says, Batman or Superman? Batman. That's... I should probably elaborate slightly. Definitely Batman. But in all seriousness, Superman is cool. I've seen some and read some really good stuff with him in, but there is a tendency for people who don't write him as well to just make him too much of the kind of goody two-shoes type character. And Batman, even when it's not done quite as well, the world is darker, the villains are more interesting. Just Gotham in general is just much more my kind of thing than Metropolis anyway. So yeah, Batman. Lee the Tree 77 says, what's the most eccentric geek thing you've ever done? Start a YouTube channel. It's a weird eccentric thing. Talking to a camera with nobody there is a weird eccentric thing to do as a way to talk about my geek stuff. Definitely this is the weirdest geek thing I've ever done. And continue to do and spend all my money on. Project Alien says, what's the most obscure nerdy thing you're into? I have to say, with the internet, there really isn't anything obscure anymore, which is cool. It's definitely a good thing about the internet, but whatever fandom you're into, even if only 10 other people have ever even heard of it, you can now find them and have a Facebook group or have a YouTube channel about it and you can connect. So I don't think anything's particularly obscure anymore. I think one of the things that I'm really into and have been really into for a very long time that not as many people have heard of is Dirty Pair, which is not what it sounds like. It's a 80s comedy sci-fi anime series. Damp Dog says, give us a series that you love that no one else does, and vice versa. I really liked the Blade TV series. The first couple of episodes weren't so good, but where it went I thought was really cool, and partly because the first couple of episodes weren't so good. No one else has watched it and everyone just sort of thinks it's rubbish. I always liked the bad guys in Blade, and it gave the bad guys kind of centre stage. They're sort of more important than Blade in that series, to be honest. A series I hate that everybody else loves would be the obvious one, which is the X-Men movie franchises. I hate the X-Men movies. I'm pretty much alone in that opinion, to be honest. I'm quite used to that though. It's me, Jax0R, I think that's a 0, says, top 5 anime. I've already planned to do a video on my top 5 anime, so I'm not going to tell you now. You're just going to have to wait a couple of weeks and then there will be a video on it. Geektown UK says, what's your favourite podcast to co-host? Yeah, cheers, Dave. I'm not answering that, obviously, because that's a clear mean question on the part of Dave in order for me to say I co-host on the geektown.co.uk podcast once a month, doing film and TV news. I also appear on various other podcasts and I love them all equally. What a mean question. Zachalus1 asks, who or what inspires you? I think, well, one of the things that definitely keeps me going is meeting all of the indie comic book, indie game creators and artists doing their own original works at all the Comic-Cons. Because the videos I do there and I'm trying to help spread the word about their work makes me feel like I'm actually giving something back to the geek community and not just ranting at a camera randomly with no one listening. And I feel like even if, you know, those videos just introduce one more person to one of their awesome comics or games or artwork, then I've done something good and I've helped people that are actually doing the things that I never did. I have so much respect for anyone that actually finishes their own game, finishes their own comic, and that's why I want to do more stuff with the indie guys on the channel and introduce you guys to some of the really awesome stuff I see at Comic-Con that sometimes you will never find otherwise. Kai Creative asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Professional presenter, cosplayer, gamer, etc. Being a professional presenter would be absolutely amazing. Obviously that's, I mean, I've cosplayed a couple of times and it's fun, but I don't have the skill set or the patience or anything to do anything like even vaguely half decent. That's just me having a laugh. Gamer wise, I don't think I could ever be a professional gamer. I love gaming, but I'm not good enough I think is what it comes down to. I greatly enjoy it, but I think that the presenting and the interviewing and all that kind of side is what I'm probably best at of my pretty limited skill set. Russell asks, would you have a favourite game you've always wanted to be immersed in VR style? That's a really cool question, actually. I'm actually going to go for Knights, the Saturn game, because if you could fly around like Knights through all that like beautiful sky and scenery and stuff, then I think that would be a really incredible immersive VR experience for sure. So yeah, Knights. If you haven't played it, play Knights. It's a really, really cool game. It's the same, I think it's connected to the same team that did the Sonic games and stuff. And I thought it was going to become the next Sonic type thing, but I think they only did the one game. It didn't seem to quite catch on, but then the Saturn sort of lost to the PlayStation anyway. Luke Aldridge and Dan Churchman asked pretty similar questions, so I'm rolling them into one. What is the one movie that influenced your life the most? That question's actually really, really easy because it is Laputa Castle in the Sky, the Hayao Miyazaki Ghibli film. It's so important to me, that film. It's incredible. I saw it as a very small child. It was broadcast once on UK TV when I was really, really small. I happened to start seeing the beginning of it, think it looked really interesting, and I stuck a VHS in, a red VHS tape that I think I still have, even though it doesn't work anymore. And I recorded over loads of cartoons I'd been watching at the time to have that film, and then I just watched it so many times since then. I used to pause the VHS and try and draw the characters. I used to dream about going to the castle and meeting the robot, and it made me want to draw, it made me want to do art. It was such an inspiration, as well as being this incredible, incredible film. I had no idea it was anime, I had no idea it was from Japan, I had no idea there were more films by the same studio either, and that film's just, it's still, like, it just, Tristarian Frenzy, like the name. What books do you read and what's your favourite genre? I'm very much a cyberpunk person, sci-fi, but specifically cyberpunk. I'll hold up some random books, so obvious things like Gibson. I'm also a fan of Jeffrey Thomas. Deadstock is amazing. Philip K. Dick is a big one. Neil Asher, I love his books. Massive interconnected series of kind of somewhere between space opera, cyberpunk and whatever else he wants. That's pretty damn awesome. I'm also a big fan of writers like Asimov. I've got Robert Heinlein here, Jeff Noon, Kurt Vonnegut, Greg Egan, and John Courtney Grimwood as well. Not many people have read either the Greg Egan or the John Courtney Grimwood, but they're both really, really good. The next question's from Elle, who wanted to remain anonymous due to being a secret ninja or something, and sent me the question via like Facebook Messenger. Elle asks, what are the fandoms that attract you easier? What draws you to them? Definitely stuff that is dark, evil, cyberpunky, mean, and if it has a sense of humour, it's a very kind of satirical, mean sense of humour. Basically the opposite of what I want life to be like is how I like my fiction. Stu Pot asks, what was the first film you ever saw at the Pictures? I had to think about this one. I thought the first film that I saw at the Pictures was The Land Before Time. However, I also have memories of the first My Little Pony movie, and that was out 2 years earlier in 1986. So my first memory of going to the cinema is watching the My Little Pony movie in 86, and I distinctly remember the intro to the film and sitting there, and at the end I was given a kind of like a cardboard cutout thing of a pony, and you'd put your fingers through it to make the pony's legs, and it would sit here in your hand, and then you could colour it in. I remember that so strongly that sometimes I still miss it, because it was obviously something that I absolutely loved. Asobitech asks, or rather states, for someone who says they're not that much of a Star Wars fan, you make a lot of Star Wars videos. P.S. Tetris rematch. Yeah, cheers. Not sure on the Tetris rematch. The last one was quite painful, humiliating for me, I have to say. Although it was really, really funny. Star Wars wise, yeah, I'm basically going to have to slightly retcon myself, because in my last Q&A video I was asked my favourite Star Wars movie, and I said, oh, you know what, I'm not that much of a Star Wars fan anyway, like I like them, but it's not, you know, something I'm massively knowledgeable about. And Yeah, I make a lot of Star Wars videos and I have a lot of opinions on Star Wars, and I'm learning to fight with a lightsaber, and I'm wrong. The amount of discussions and podcasts where I talked for over an hour on one podcast about all the things going on in The Last Jedi, and I must have, like, Star Wars must be the topic I've made the most amount of YouTube videos on as a single topic as well. So I suck at Tetris and I do like Star Wars. Thanks, Quang. Alright, I think I got through at least one question from everyone who super kindly asked me questions. If you liked the video or found it vaguely entertaining, please subscribe to Tristabytes and click the like button, or just click them out of pity. That counts just the same to the algorithms as if you genuinely think I'm good at this. Either way, thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. I'm aiming to keep uploading videos every Friday. The next one will be another indie games interview video similar to the one I uploaded last Friday. And the next one's got some Warhammer games and other cool stuff as well. So please check back every Friday where theoretically there will be a new video each time. Thank you guys. Take care.